Hi, Dena Zavier here. Today's topic is balance. And do you ever feel like you're getting off balance? I think that all of us are off balance. Actually, in fact, you're probably always off balance. Um, balance isn't always equilibrium. Sometimes balance is the movement between being off balance and correcting, and we're always correcting. So, in essence, balance is not a stable or static place. Balance is a is motion. It's never-ending motion. So I'm talking about balance, and I started thinking about it, and I started realizing that the Aboriginal cultures, First Nation cultures around the world, balance is such a big thing for them. They all talk about balance and balance in the world. Somebody's working really hard. I've heard the story where a shaman in Africa would ask an ailing patient, "When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing?" And that would tell him why he was unhealthy, because he wasn't using those aspects of his life. Oriental culture has the yin yang symbol, right? Where everything, you can't have the negative without the positive. And when you look at North American First Nation cultures, Indigenous cultures, they speak in terms of the medicine wheel. And I've made kind of a medicine wheel here in the background, just to sort of visualize what it is I'm talking about. So if we think about the medicine wheel as being all of the different aspects of ourself, in order for the wheel to be a circle and to be smooth and to run smoothly, it means we have to balance and be aware of and give attention to all the parts of ourselves, not just one or the other. In our culture, we tend to give a lot of attention to our mind. We seem to think that, oh, everything's important. It's all schooling, it's all brain, it's all how good you do at your job and what your productivity is and all that kind of stuff. So we tend to put a lot of focus here. And unfortunately, sometimes that leads to a lack of focus in other areas. And in particular, one area is our body. Look at how unhealthy people tend to be now. And it's because they're not paying attention to their body. They're not paying attention to the fact that it needs attention, it needs nourishment, it needs exercise, right? So I'll just take that off. We need physical activity to be healthy. We need that physical activity to be healthy. Well, what do we need to be for our mind to be healthy? Well, it needs stimulation. So for our mind to be healthy, we need to be learning. So there's two parts of the medicine wheel. And you might think, well, if my body's healthy and my mind's healthy, everything should be fine. But that's not it. That's not the whole story. If we focus only on those two, then we forget these other two. And these other two, let's start with this one. Oops, this is the subconscious mind. I put the subconscious mind as one of the four things on the medicine wheel because it governs who we are and how we act in life. Our whole subconscious mind is made up of everything we've experienced in our whole life. And it's subconscious because we're not consciously aware of it. We're not able to access it. And if we ignore our subconscious mind, and one way to ignore your subconscious mind is to feed it crap all the time. So I don't know about you, but there's times when I get these mental loops going on in my head. Oh, you can't do that, or you're not strong enough, or you're not big, healthy enough, or you're not. Well, that is feeding. Every thought that you have all day long is feeding into your subconscious mind. So you have to protect your subconscious mind. by feeding it good things, whether that's thinking good thoughts, being grateful, all of those kinds of things. So you have to feed your subconscious mind as well. And yes, because in my mind, your subconscious mind is what gives rise to your emotions. Whenever you feel an emotion that, you know, I don't know, say you get angry about something, odds are that emotion comes from some stored bit of data in your subconscious mind. It's coming up, or we get triggered by sort of unreasonable things. I had a motorcycle accident on the first day I was learning to ride my motorcycle. I was going down a little dirt road, and it was gravel, and it had been washed out, so the gravel was kind of big, and I didn't know my throttle and my brake well enough yet. And so as I was going down that little incline, I lost control of the bike. I dumped it, I twisted my ankle, I clunked my head. And do you know, for 2 years I would get an emotional hit of anxiety every time I started to go down a hill. It didn't matter it was a paved hill. It took 2 years for that emotion to get cleaned out and for my subconscious mind to be reprogrammed so that it wasn't afraid going down a hill. That's because it was a significant event. Anyway, so much for that. And then the fourth area is your soul or your spirit. You can't ignore this one either. So you've got physical activity, you got emotions, you got learning. For your soul, that's where I think that the things that really feed your soul is your spiritual practice, which if you're religious, that might be what you do, or you might meditate. But I think another aspect that feeds your spiritual self or your soul is your relationships. When we think of balance, the balance isn't just inside in our internal terrain. The balance has to be between our internal and our external world as well. So these are internal areas primarily, but then we've got the external, which is our relationships and our relationship with the world. This is where the First Nation medicine wheel always comes in, because they believe that they are a part of the world, and relationship with nature is so important. But I think, so your relationships with creation or with the people around you, with humanity, as well as your spiritual practice, that feeds your soul. So we've got all these 4 areas, and like I said, you're never totally in balance. You know, you might live here, and I thank my teacher John Kehoe, because in his mind, his model, there's 4 quadrants here. These also have a character. So the physical activity and the mind together becomes a thinker-doer. The emotions and the physical activity becomes an artist. The relationships and spiritual practice with your emotions, your spirit with your emotions, becomes the mystic, and this becomes the intellectual, the learning, and combined with spiritual practice. That was an aside. So what are you going to do? The important thing is that you need to ensure that you have balance in your life, not in every moment, but in every week or every day. You need to make sure that you nurture all the aspects of yourself every day. So maybe you go for a half-hour walk every day, or if it's not every day, maybe 3 times a week you go to the gym and do a really good workout. You need to be constantly learning something. If you're not learning, you're dying, and learning is what keeps our brains healthy and stimulated. Emotions, well, you have to be aware and be a little bit introspective at times as well. Take that time to experience your emotions, learn what they mean, experience them, acknowledge them, let them go, but you have to go there. How many of you haven't heard about the friend that you have that got a divorce, and it was an emotional turmoil, and every other part of their life fell apart? They were so focused in their emotions that they either they're so focused on their emotions that everything else falls apart, or they want to ignore their emotions so badly that they go to the gym 7 times a week and they throw themselves into their work. None of that is healthy. You have to find a balance between all of these things. So, like I said, if it's not every day, at least every week, make sure you have a balance. And the longer you wait without ensuring that you've got balance in your life, the more the imbalance will become a habit. And that's when illness occurs from my perspective. So what I'm asking you right now is to think about the areas of your life. And these are just 4 areas. There's other models that might have 5 or 7, but just think about the various areas of your life and say, are there any areas of my life where I'm ignoring and I am not paying attention to them? Because odds are, if you leave it that way and you don't take the time to pay attention to that area of your life, then it's gonna bite you in the rear end at some point. Okay, that's enough for me today. And this is so serious. Don't forget, have a little fun. So have a great day. And thank you for watching. Dena Zavier here. And don't forget, just live your most amazing adventures. And make sure that when you're adventuring, that you have at least some balance.